Okay, everybody, Mark Kirby again, Accounting 6 spreadsheets. First chapter we're going to work on for this class is going to be Chapter 14. Chapter 14 talks about income statements, balance sheets, and making adjustments and corrections for them. The Excel part of that is what I want to focus on. You guys did balance sheets, income statements through both Accounting 151A and Accounting 150, or Accounting 1A, sorry. I'm sure you've taken one or the other of those at this point. So, here we go. Basic spreadsheet. You know, got my name up in the corner just in case I forget to save the file with my last name in the file name. And I've thrown together some data here. Here we've got this beauty supply shop where they have sales, they sell some things, and since they sell things, they have cost of goods sold. Cost of goods sold gives us gross profit. And we've got our general and administrative expenses that go on top of that, and we derive net income. Okay? Now if you look through all these numbers, they are all just numbers. Someone has treated Excel just like it was a piece of paper, and they took a pen and they wrote on it. What if I realized that my sales number was wrong and I had to change it? Is my net income at the bottom going to change? Not at all. What if my inventory was wrong? Is it going to change? Not at all. Next month, when I get to January of 2011, if I wanted to do an income statement, I'd have to go and dump all these numbers in here manually, including probably getting a calculator out and calculating the totals and, you know, subtracting cost of goods sold from sales to get gross profit, all that good stuff. So this is what I call hard coding all of the numbers in the spreadsheet. It is absolutely what we want to avoid as accountants and as professionals. So we can talk about ways to overcome that. Now I'm sure all of you are aware that with Excel, yes, we want to type some numbers in, but for example, goods available for sale, that is a matter of taking inventory, beginning inventory plus purchases, correct? So I could simply come over here and type in plus this cell plus that cell, and you can point visually and hit enter. So now that cell changed from being a number to being this formula, and all your formulas always start with the equal sign. You can type in the equal sign or you can type in the plus. I chose to type in the plus, and now if I were to change my beginning inventory to say 40,000, notice my total goods available for sale changed. This is a huge improvement over where we were. The problem is the rest of the spreadsheet is still hard-coded, so my gross profit didn't change, my cost of goods sold, nor my net income. So I'm going to undo that and put it back where it was. I left the formula here, and we're going to now improve upon this. I'm going to go through several different ways you can calculate formulas with Excel. Because if there's one thing I want to say about Excel, if there's one way to do something, there's at least three. And you know, if you guys have one that you want to throw in, let me know. We'll bring it up during class, because maybe there's something I can even learn from you guys. So this formula here, total cost of goods sold, is goods available for sale less merchandise inventory. So I'm going to go plus goods available for sale minus ending inventory, and it gives me total cost of goods sold. The amount didn't change because I haven't changed any of the numbers yet. Gross profit is sales minus cost of goods sold. So I'm going to change this to a formula, plus this minus cost of goods sold. Okay? Now, for example, if my inventory changed, my beginning inventory changed to 40,000, notice my gross profit changed, my total cost of goods sold changed, my total goods available changed, everything changed. We haven't gone any further, so our net income still remains the same. Here's where I want to come down further and continue to automate our spreadsheet by building these formulas into it. Total expenses. Here's where we could go plus this, plus this, plus this, plus this, plus, and so on, and hit enter. Notice how Excel helps you out here. It's given us all the visuals up and down here of all the cells we've selected. It even color codes them in the formula. Look at how long that formula is. Hit enter, bang, it's going to add those things up for us. Okay? Now, the last step is net income. Net income we know is gross profit minus total expenses, and we get a different number based on the fact that I changed this up here. Let's change this back. Okay, that's the right number. That's where we started. So now, anytime we make a change to, sales, inventories, purchases, anything up here or in the expenses, it'll flow all the way through, affect all the numbers and our net income for the year. This spreadsheet is well on its way to being fully automated. One thing I want to point out, I don't know if you're aware of it or not, if you point at a cell formula, at a cell, and click F2, it'll bring that visual back up of what the formula is. And Excel's really cool about helping you with this. It shows you we're adding all these things up. It shows you the formula here. The formula is always also up in what's called the formula bar. Okay, and that's up here. But it also appears down here when I hit F2. When it's in visual mode like this, you can actually take the edge of this and you can drag that cell around, and notice instead of being now G20 in the formula, it moved to K, which is where this moved to. And if I wanted to make it bigger to include more cells, I could, and it'll do that for me. I'm going to move it back because we do want it to just refer to our original spreadsheet, our original cell in the formula. If I hit escape, it will get rid of any changes I might have made. If I hit enter, it'll save my changes. Remember when I put this formula in right here in total expenses, I had to hit plus this, plus this, plus this, plus this. There's a shorter way to do it. Excel has a formula, a function built in. On the Home tab, it's already here. It's over on this other side. It's called AutoSum, way over here on the right. And if I hit the AutoSum key, it's going to try and make an assumption that I want to total everything in this dotted area up above it. That was a good guess on Excel's part, but it's not what I want. I want to click on this cell and drag this entire area right here, and notice instead of saying plus cell G20 plus G21 plus G22, Excel has inserted this formula for me that is simply equals sum G20 to G30. I'm going to hit enter. Notice it does the same thing as my plus G20 plus G21 plus G22 formula had done, but it's much smaller. And I was able to use the AutoSum key over here to do it with. This is such a powerful thing and is used so often, so frequently. I've even added it to my quick access toolbar so that I can get to it right away no matter where I'm at, even if it's not on the home. Even if I'm not on the Home tab up here, I can still get to it. If I'm on the Page Layout tab, I can still get to it. Okay? Because it's not over here anymore. Just as an FYI, if you go to the Formula tab, the AutoSum is here also. And you can do other things with it from here. There's a drop down. You can sum, which is what we did. You can have it take an average of all those numbers, count all those numbers, maximum, take the maximum, the largest one, or the smallest one out of it. Okay? Or you can go to the function key, and it's assuming I want to edit the function that's already there. So I'm going to go to a blank cell, insert the function, If I want a sum, I know I want a sum, you can hit sum and go look for it. Here's sum. Click OK, and it's going to tell me, plug in the numbers you want. And I could put in here A10, B10, and so on. So I could put in the first number here in this first cell, click on it, go to the next cell, click on the next key, click on the next key, cell, and so on, and recreate that formula that I want. And it's just going to keep adding more and more spaces for me. I can scroll down over here, and it'll let me just keep going back and forth. 27, 28, 29, whoops, and 30. Let's see what it does if I leave a gap. It did it. So it's created this new formula, and I skipped one. You can see it here because it doesn't have a highlighted box on it when I hit F2. But it's now adding all these things up. Now, if you haven't noticed this or not, there's two things going on here. I'm going to hit escape, and I'm going to move this sum that we just created up here, and I'm going to, in edit mode, put a single parenthesis in front of it. And that tells Excel that I want to turn it from a formula with the equals into a text string. And I'm doing that so we can look at it. This is the one that we had built automatically, where we just use the function on the home key, and then we highlighted this range right here. I'm going to edit that. I'm going to put the single quote in front of it, turn that into a text. Notice it blows up my net income. Don't care for now. I just want to point some things out. And that's how these functions are built in Excel. The first one we did, or we let Excel do for us, I'll move out of the way, has a sum equals sum, open parentheses, G20, colon, G30, close parentheses. And what that's telling it to do, the equals tells it that it's a formula, sum is a function, it recognizes that. Open parentheses is the data that we want to do the function on. So G20 is this first cell here with 46,000 in it, and G30 is this last one, interest expense, with 3,300 in it. The colon in between says grab everything in between these two numbers. So it goes from G20 all the way down to G30. It's a lot shorter than our plus G20 plus G21 plus G22 formula, but we also were able to, using the formula tool, create one by individually clicking on cells. That where we go equal sum, open parentheses, G20, comma, G21, comma, G23, comma, and so on. Both work. The automatic one here, the sum G22, G30, is by far the better one if you have contiguous cells, meaning they're next to each other like this. If you wanted to add up things that were, say, here, and here, and here, and here, then you could create a formula that looks like this one that I created here. I've not ever really used that one a lot, but it does exist. So there are multiple ways to create these formulas in the system. Get rid of that one. Turn this one back into a formula. Bang, there we go. So we can also, without using the AutoSum or going to formulas, insert function, we can create these functions on our own as well. And you can do that by simply typing into the cell equals sum. I'm going to slow down and go do that again. Equals sum. The minute I hit S, it knows I'm doing a function because I've got an equal with a letter instead of a number. So notice it's got all these functions in this pop-up window, and they all start with S. And I could come over here and I could scroll through this and find the one I want and click on it, and it'd fill it in for me. Or I can keep typing SU M, okay? And it just keeps refining. What if I wanted some product? I could still click on it. It's still assuming I'm going to keep typing letters until I type in the open parentheses. Notice the little helper that pops up below this. Here's the function. Inside the parentheses, it shows you what it wants. Number 1, number 2, so on, all the way to end parentheses. It's telling you, hey, here's what I'm looking for. Here's a hint. But I don't even have to do that. In the sum, I can go sum, open parentheses, come over and start here, drag to the end one that I want, and hit the close parentheses, hit enter. And I've just created the same function by typing it in manually. So there's multiple ways that you can do this in Excel. Good? Okay. Another thing that I want to point out is that we can group things in Excel. What if I wanted just an abbreviated income statement, or the ability to show a short income statement as compared to a long one? You can come over here and you can group rows and columns together. I'm going to group these rows. I've come over in the number. Notice how it turns into an arrow pointing sideways. And if I click on this, it turns that whole line into a color. It highlights the whole thing. But if I drag down through the whole thing and cover all of those, I can go to the grouping, which I've set up on my quick access toolbar, but I'm going to go and show you that it's on the data tab, and you can go to the group function over here, and when I hit group, notice our left border popped out here a little bit, and we've got this bar with a minus sign. All right, I can go click somewhere else. If I want to show an abbreviated income statement to someone, I can hit the minus sign. All the math is still going on. All those cells are still there. Just they disappear from view temporarily. Notice even that my row numbers go 17, 18, 19, 31, 32, 33. So you know they're there, but they're just not visible at the moment. My total still works. If I click on the plus, it brings them back. So I can make them go away, bring them back, make them go away, bring them back. You can do the same thing up above. I don't know why you'd want to do this, but I'm showing that you can do it with columns as well. I can make my columns go away and make those disappear and bring them back, and make them go away and bring them back. You can also highlight them again, click ungroup, and that undoes itself. Okay, same thing here. Highlight this area, ungroup them, bang, gone. So that's grouping and ungrouping. I'm assuming that everyone knows how to put underlines and borders in a cell. If you don't know how, again, sorry, on the home key, home tab, there is in the cell formatting area a drop down where you can choose. I want to outline, thick, thin, I want to double underline, underline, take the borders out. You can do all kinds of things here. Okay? If you want to change the color on it, you can go right next door and you can change the color of the box itself. Orange, yellow, green, darker green, blue, dark blue, black, red. Okay? Right next door to that, on the right of that, you can change the color of the numbers or the letters that are in that cell. Sometimes in combination, if you use a combination of the cell color with the number color being something other than black and white, it becomes hard to read what's there, so be careful about that. We can also change the number formats, and this is important. You're an accountant, you need to tell people what you're doing. It's all about communication. So we can use the number formatting scheme over here on the home tab again, and you can set up dollar signs, you can set up decimal places with no dollar sign, percentages. You can add more zeros. You can take zeros out. Zeros behind the decimal point, that is. Okay? You can open this up and go to the old style Windows or Excel formatting. Okay? And set the number of decimal places and comma separators and all that. Notice what I did though. Column H here, I made it real fat, right? Made it real wide. If I want to narrow that, a couple things you can do. You can right click on the H at the top, go to column width, and change the size of it by typing in a smaller number here. You can drag it around and make it a different size. Okay? If you point at it here, notice how the cursor changes. Notice it's a cross or a plus here, to a down arrow to let you select the whole column, to a line with arrows going either direction, telling you that you can drag it around. If I double click when it's in this position here, it auto sizes it for me to just be big enough to handle the data that's in it. So if you've got a whole big long text string somewhere up here and you double click this, it'll open up and notice it's big enough for the fattest thing in that whole column all of a sudden. I'm going to undo that. Okay, so we covered some column width, number formats. Okay, what if I wanted to make sure that I had something at the top? What if I had two sets of income statements side by side, and I had December 2010, 2010. I need to change the format on that. Right click, format, general, meaning no commas, and say that's my column header. I can center it in the page, underline it. What if I have another one and I have December 2000, just type in December 2011, and I'm going to center that in the page and underline it. And let's assume that I have the same, just to make it easy and quick, because I don't want to create all new data here. So here's my, we can even change this. I had more sales in 2011 than 2010. Therefore I made more profit. Notice it changed all the way down for me. But I've got my column headers on here. Let's assume that if I had a real big long income statement that went much further down than here, say it went down into the 50s, 60s, you know, maybe even 100 lines of expense items. And what if I always wanted this to show up at the top so that I could know which column I'm looking at? We can do something called freeze panes. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put my cursor here, because that's the first row I want to be able to, everything above that I want to be able to stay. And if you go to View, the View tab over here, Freeze Panes, I can freeze just the top row, which I don't want to do because all it's got is my name in it. Freeze the first column, which I don't want to do because it's basically blank except for my name. Or freeze both directions, and everything to the left of and above where my cell pointer is active stays. Notice it put this black line across there for me. So now if I come down here and I start to scroll down as I'm looking at data, look what happens. My header stayed. Everything above that spot where I had my cell pointer at stays there. So those column headers stay, and I can scroll in and out of that and make it go away. Okay? Works, you can really see it when you have a lot more data that runs a lot further down the page. Also, or if you're trying to scroll to the right and you want something to stay on the page, say if I had multiple years of data, I would want to put my freeze here. Right now, to change where they freeze, I have to unfreeze them and refreeze them. Now notice I've got a line going horizontally and vertically, so it'll pivot around that point. So if I go to the right, notice things disappear off into the left but my column headers stay. Okay, so that's freeze panes. And I'm even going to get rid of this. Just get it out of here. Home. No borders. Gone. Okay. Last thing I want to show you here is, again, has to do with formulas. We did these great things where we have plus H10 minus H16. You guys, if I hit F2, you can see it visually. You can see it in the cell. You can see it up here in the formula bar. So we all see and know what's going on. But that's a little confusing for some people, or perhaps not. Either way, there's one more step. We can make this easier for ourselves. Gross profit is defined as what? Sales minus cost of goods sold. Excel has something really cool called the name manager. And I'm going to go ahead and click on sales here. And I'm going to go over to formulas. On the formulas tab, here's where we can access all of our functions or the insert function key. Here's this name manager just to the right of that. And I'm going to click on that. Now it knows what cell I'm in. I'm going to click new because I want to create a new name. It knows which cell I'm in. Notice it's got the tab PR14-4A and the cell H10. And I'm going to take H10 and I'm going to name that sales. And I'm going to click OK. So now I have this name, sales. And if I click down here, it shows you what it is. All right? And then I can create another new one without closing out of this. And let's say I'm going to create gross profit. Now it still refers to H10. I don't want it to refer to the same spot as sales. So I can hit the little drop down key to get this out of the way. And I can come over and visually point at what I do want it to be, which is H16. Notice it changed up here. Pull this back in, click OK. Uh-oh, I made a boo-boo. Gross profit. Oh, I forget. I forget this from time to time. Your name in your name managers cannot have spaces in them. So you got to take that space out, and once I do that, it should work fine. There's my two names, sales, gross profit. If I click on that, it'll show me what I'm looking at. Click on this, it'll show you what I'm looking at. Now, these become static references, and I'll talk more about those in a minute. But I just want to show you the power of this. So right now I have plus H10 minus H16. Let's take that out. There's nothing in there. And I really want that formula to be plus sales minus oh, you got to remember what you called it though, don't you? Go look in the name manager. I called it gross. I misnamed it. Let's go edit that. Edit. I'm going to change that to CGS. I'm going to call it cost of goods sold. I got to do this right. Okay? So, plus sales minus CGS, enter. And it gives me the same number as if I had typed in plus H10 minus H16. So now all of a sudden my formula, when I go look at it and hit F2, it still highlights the same place, but the visual on it is plus sales minus cost of goods sold. A lot easier to follow, a lot easier to edit your spreadsheet or update them. Very, very powerful tool to be able to use that name manager and use these words in a formula as opposed to some really crazy cell reference. As your spreadsheets get bigger, you'll see that there's really a lot of power to this. Okay, we could do another one down here. I'm going to call, we can name this gross profit, new, name, no space. Now this one I really do want to call gross profit. Okay. And I can call, I want to create another new one and call that expenses. And have that refer to my expenses here. click OK. Close this. Now net income can be equals gross profit. Notice what happened? Excel always is trying to help you out here. As soon as I start typing something in, I type in a G, it knows that I'm either going to pick a function or look, here's something new. Remember when we did the sum function before? Here's something new. It's a little tag. It's a name tag, gross profit. And as I type more, it limits me down further and helps me select. But if I just wanted to go ahead and select gross profit from here, you can go point at it and click on it and it'll fill it in there for you. Gross profit minus EXP expenses. There it is. I'm going to click on it. It fills it in for me. Hit enter. Bang, it's doing the math for me now. And again, if I hit F2, it shows the right cells. But my formula is a ton easier to look at, so I can really follow what's going on here. Okay? By nature, I want to ask if there's any questions, but that isn't going to work right now. Let's talk about, I mentioned static references earlier. What do I mean by static references? Remember that my formula here is gross profit minus expenses. If I took my gross profit line and I grabbed it and I moved it, notice my formula still works because this cell is still gross profit out here. If I wanted to calculate, let me do this a different way. What if I wanted to calculate percentage of sales amounts over here? So I know that total sales divided by sales gives me 100%, right? And that's good. That's what I want to see. But what if I want to now copy that down for every one of my numbers in my income statement? Well, they're all coming out to be 100%. Is this working out for me? No. This is a bad example because I've named that cell sales. Look, each one of these, the formula is sales divided by sales. Let's change our name manager here slightly. I'm going to go to sales because I need to do this, and I'm going to delete that name in my name manager. Okay? And click close. Now these all blew up, and I don't care about that. I'm going to delete them. This one blew up because sales doesn't exist. Remember, sales is in our formula, and it's not there anymore. And it's telling me number sign name because I have a bad name. I'm going to take sales out and just go point back at H10, hit enter. Fixes my income statement, but I need that to make this example work. So, to calculate percentage of sales, plus sales divided by sales, H10 divided by H10 is 100%. I can copy this down. You guys know that you can use the fill handle and copy that down. I don't want it in this line because there's nothing here. So hang on, weird things happen. I have 0. I have 0. I have, or division by 0, division by 0, division by 0. 100% because it's H16 divided by H16 or H17 divided by H17. Here's where we have a problem. I've copied this cell down, and what Excel wants to do is it moves the reference point. It assumes that if you're copying it down, you're always going to be wanting to take the next cell down divided by itself and the next cell down divided by itself, and so on and so on and so on, for as long as you copy this. I want to tell Excel that when I copy it, not to move the second one, the one I'm dividing by, down. And you can do that by locking the reference. And to do that, you put in $ in front of the H for column reference and the 10 for the row reference and hit enter. And now if I copy this down, and hit F2, you can see where it's taking H12, the cell I want, divided by H10, which is gross sales. It sort of worked. It kept the static reference, the cell that I locked, on H10. For right now, I want to move this over here. because I want to divide beginning inventory by sales. I can copy that down, and it shows me that beginning inventory was 9% of sales, purchases were 78%, cost of goods available was 87%, and so on to where my gross profit is 24%. Okay? And that is with me locking the reference H and 10. Let me set up another example quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Good enough. Okay. So if I go plus 1 times 1, I should get 1. And if I copy that down, and what I want here is some sort of a multiplication table where these are my horizontal values and these are my vertical values. Here I want 1 times 1. Here I want 1 times 2. It works because I'm using this 1. Here I want 1 from up at the very top times 3. It's not working. 1 from at the top times 4. It's not working. So what I can do here is I can lock my reference to K6. Now, on the first example where I did this, I put a $sign in front of the K and in front of the 6. The $sign in front of the K locks you relative to the column letter horizontally, meaning it will always, always, always pull from column K if you put a $sign in front of it. If you don't, and you copy right to left, it'll let the column reference slide or move. So if I copy this right, it'll change to L, to M, to N. So I want to leave that blank for right now. Okay? On this one, if I copy up to down, it'll go from J7 to J8 to J9. Well, what if I want the J to stay there? Because if I copy it across, I don't want it to all of a sudden copy from K7, L7, M7. So I'm going to lock the J reference there and the column reference, the column reference here and the row reference here, and hit enter. Now if I copy this down, it works. And because I've locked the J reference, I can take all of these. Let's try again. Take all of these and copy them across, and they work this way as well. 2 times 1, 3 times 1, 4 times 1, 7 times 7. So let's look at the formula here. Static reference J, meaning it's going to pull from this column in row 13, which is what I want it to do, times Q, something from Q in row 6, because I've static referenced the 6, so it's followed me and given me 7 times 7. If I move over 1, you can see that the static reference changes. It's only letting the thing change that I want to because I've done what's called a static reference point. Another way to toggle a static reference, plus K6 times J9. Okay? So what I've done is manually typed in a 1 times 3. Notice the blinking cursor in the box in the edit function. If I get close to one or the other formula, the K6, the cell reference, or the J9 cell reference, you can use F4 to toggle through, lock the reference both ways on the first hit, lock just the row reference, lock just the column reference, or turn it off. And if I put it over in the J, lock both directions, lock just the row reference, lock just the column reference, turn it off. Very, very valuable tool. Very useful. Okay? Questions on that? No. Sorry. Okay, so let's play around with this a little bit. I'm going to make all of this go away, what we were just talking about with locking the cell references. You guys know that you can highlight a cell, use the fill handle, drag it down, right? And it will bring the formulas down for you. There's another thing you can do, taking out the ones that I don't want. Notice because we locked the reference, this still is net income divided by net sales. Another thing you can do is you can hit Control C, and you can't see that because I'm just hitting Control and C at the same time. And then you can hit Control V and copy something and drop it in. Control V, Control V, Control V. You can do it over and over again. Now, what I just did was I copied the formula where we're pulling from column G instead of column H. That's why all of these were 0 originally. Okay? Hit F2, you can see what they are, or you can just scroll through them and watch what they do up here. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention. Remember we named this, where is it? Gross profit. Notice this cell right here, H18, the cell name shows up here in the formula bar. If I go to a cell that I've named, it tells me the name of that cell, gross profit, or cost of goods sold, or expenses. So those names appear up here. You can use the drop down and they actually show up, and I can jump from one to the other by just using the drop down, and it'll take me where I want to go. Okay, you see how the cursor jumped around down here? Okay, so other things you can play with and things that you're going to do with the homework through the magic of editing. I can grab this and move it out here. Okay, let's say you're given a trial balance. Okay, and you have accounts, sales, inventory, purchases, what else? Inventory, sorry, beginning, ending, salaries, bad debt, insurance, payroll, tax, rent, repairs. Okay. Let's just say we're given this information, and I'm going to type in some of this real quick. 36,000. Purchases are 314,250. Ending inventory is 45,000. Salaries 46. 1,800. 2,800. 5,060. Rent is 0. Repairs is 4,500. Okay, I'm just doing a partial list so I have something to work with. Again, I like my formatting. I like them to be consistent so it's easy to read and they match what goes on over here. If you ever turn in a homework problem where you've got 2 decimal points here and no decimal points there and something else down here, that's bad. Okay, it's a formal report that you're giving to somebody. Remember that. So if I'm given a trial balance, I can do some things here. I can have this automatically by using the plus or the equals refer to the trial balance, right? And that way, if I change things over there, you know, if I were to change my sales, and if I got a new trial balance next month, I could put in the new sales amount, and that carries straight over here, and it carries all the way through my income statement. Okay, that's kind of cool. A powerful tool, because it's easier for someone with less experience than yourselves to just fill in numbers in a column right out of a trial balance, and then you've built the tool that creates the income statement for them. That's neat. In the homework, you're going to be asked to do things like, everyone remembers the worksheet, right? we're going to have adjustments, and we're going to have debit, and if I can spell it, we're going to have debit and credit adjustments, and then we can have an adjusted balance. These I can center, these I can center. What if I want to center this? On the home key you can go to, you got to highlight both of them, merge and center, and you can plug it right in that way. Centers it above the two columns. So this needs to be a little wider. Notice it's a RILE balance. We can't have that. Double click, it makes it automatically big enough. So a trial balance would be plus, or the adjusted column would be plus your beginning balance. Would help if I could type plus the beginning balance plus debits minus credits, right? And I can copy that formula all the way down. It does cool things for me. Why I'm covering this is in the homework they're going to give you some adjustments to make. So for example, like there's no rent here. What if we come along and we need to record rent for the month of $3,000, right? Notice it does the math here. I've made one little mistake though, as I showed you how to make the income statement refer to the trial balance. Now I've got to change it and make it equal the adjusted trial balance. Oops. It also helps if you put it in the right place. And equals adjusted trial balance, and equals adjusted trial balance, equals, again, I'm just going to refer to the adjusted trial balance column now. So let's take that adjustment out. So let's say my income is $101,898 and I need to record my rent for the month, $3,000. Notice it calculated my adjusted amount and plugged it in over here in my rent expense, changed my total expenses, and changed my net income for the year. Okay? So that's the kind of thing I want to see you doing in the homework for chapter 14. You'll be setting up an input area, and you're going to mark it as an input area, and you're going to have an output or report area. Okay? I want to see some good notes showing people that, you know, maybe you do something like this. I tend to use this light blue as my input area, and you tell people only input amounts in the blue area. Do not change any of the unshaded numbers. And, you know, again, we could really get their attention and, you know, set that out where they're going to see it. Okay? You could also do things like, you know, underline, offset, you know, set it up this way and tell it input area, make it bold, make it big. Okay? So that's the kind of thing I'm looking for on your first homework. If you have any questions, we'll talk about it in class. I very much hope that you'll look at this video before we have class. And I'll be sending everybody an email to make sure they do that. Okay? So those again are some cool tricks, how to use the sum function, how basic functions work, how to change column widths, the name manager, number formats, things like that. Freeze panes, all very, very valuable and useful Excel tools. And this is just scratching the surface because we're going to use them a lot more as we go through the rest of the chapters. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you're enjoying the Accounting 6 class. I'm having a good time teaching it, so again, feel free, and please, I encourage you to bring your questions to class, and we can talk about them then. Because if you have a question, I guarantee you there's at least a dozen other people that have the same question. So I look forward to seeing you in class. Have a nice rest of the day. Talk to you later.